NAR urges the Senate to ease condo financing. The Supreme Court will hear a water case that matters to you. And young households are racing to the suburbs. These stories and more on The Voice for Real Estate. Hi, I'm Stephen Gasquet with the National Association of Realtors. Did you know buyers use FHA financing on fewer than 10% of all condominiums in the United States? That's because FHA requires at least half of all condominium units to be owner-occupied. A tough threshold because many owners rent their units out. But that's not the only issue. Under the current rules, FHA will not let more than 25% of the property be used for commercial purposes. And it requires condo boards to undergo frequent, expensive, time-consuming certifications. These hurdles are a problem for real estate markets because a condo purchase is typically one of the most affordable avenues into homeownership. And that's why NAR is asking the Senate to pass a bill the House passed just a few weeks ago. It's called the Housing Opportunities Through Modernization Act, and it makes safe, affordable FHA condo financing available for more buyers than ever. NAR Vice President Michael Labout, a branch broker at ERA Shields Real Estate in Colorado Springs, Colorado, has more.
So this is unbelievably important because condos are a very important part of our market. And it's many times the first property a buyer does. And I can tell you in some properties, or in some areas, it's the only property that they may be able to afford. So being able to have FHA financing is incredibly important, and this bill will do away with a lot of the barriers that we currently have.
Once the bill passes the Senate, any differences with the House bill will have to be ironed out. And then it goes to the President, who is expected to sign it. Question: what properties require a permit under the Clean Water Act? Now that's a tough question, especially because the Environmental Protection Agency and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers have increased the jurisdiction of the Clean Water Act. They want it to cover many more bodies of water all across America. However, a federal judge has temporarily blocked that while the issue heads to the U.S. Supreme Court. It's an enormous issue because as more bodies of water are covered, more property owners often challenge the federal government about whether they have the right to invoke clean water rules on private property. In the upcoming Supreme Court case, the justices will look at whether landowners can sue the federal government if they believe their land is not covered under the law. Right now, if the government says your property is covered, you can't challenge that without first going through an expensive and time-consuming permitting process. NAR's Russell Riggs has more.
Well, I think it's critical for landowners to be able to sue at the time that the Corps of Engineers determines that there's a wetland on their property. It will save the landowner time, money, regulatory cost, and regulatory burden to be able to bring the Corps of Engineers into the courts, as opposed to having to go through a long, drawn-out appeals process and then having to sue.
The Supreme Court is expected to weigh in on this important issue this spring. We'll keep you updated on that case. Most Americans think it's a good time to buy a home, but among renters, that positive view is shrinking. That's according to NAR's quarterly Housing Opportunities and Market Experience report, known as the Home Survey. NAR Chief Economist Lawrence Yun says renters are disproportionately affected by rising prices because they can't count on home equity to fund their down payment.
We have seen some divergence. Homeowners are indicating that it's a good time to buy. It has really not changed from the prior survey. And that's due to the fact that homeowners have accumulated equity, prices rising, and they are going to use this equity for their next home purchase with down payment. But the renters, the sentiment is less strong now than before. It used to be 68% of renters wanted to buy a home, or they thought that it would be a good time to buy. Now it's only 62% indicating as such.
Meanwhile, another NAR report finds there's no bigger home buying group in America than millennials, those under 35 years of age. That's the conclusion of the Home Buyer and Seller Generational Trends Report, just released by NAR. It finds that millennials make up 35% of all home buyers. For years now, we've talked about their preference for urban living, but now they're buying, and most of them are choosing single-family homes in the suburbs. NAR's Jessica Lautz has more.
One of the really interesting things is this year we're finding they're moving out of the city and into the burbs. They're having children, and schools are becoming a priority for them.
In another finding, 89% of millennials chose to work with an agent on their purchase, a rate higher than that of any other generation. NAR wants all its members to know about a very powerful ally they have in important legal fights, NAR's Legal Action Program. For more than 40 years, it's been fighting for private property rights and fair business practices on behalf of brokerages and state and local associations of realtors. Over the years, NAR has helped in hundreds of cases, sometimes providing money to help a broker or association cover legal costs, and sometimes providing expert legal commentary. NAR's Deputy General Counsel, Ralph Holman, talks about what the association looks for when an application for assistance is submitted under its Legal Action Program.
A critical consideration for the committee in each case is whether it involves factual or legal issues that affect only the parties to the case or a small segment of the industry, or whether it will affect the industry nationwide and contribute to the development of the law in a way that's favorable to the industry.
Learn more about the Legal Action Program in a new video from NAR Legal Affairs. Home sales took a hit last month, dropping several percentage points in February from the previous month. NAR Chief Economist Lawrence Yoon says a continued shortage of inventory remains a big problem in many markets around the nation.
I would like to see home prices slow down because of increased supply. But what may be happening right now is there could be some resistance on the part of buyers.
Despite the setback, the sales pace remains on solid ground, with more than 5 million home sales expected this year. What could be more important to you as a real estate professional than serving your clients as well as you can? Well, the professionals who staff your state and local associations of realtors just completed the 2016 Association Executive Institute in San Antonio, Texas. And it was all about finding ways to serve you better.
Of course, it's all about making the members better, faster, stronger, more efficient, and the better I am, the better they can be, and it's a win-win for everybody.
So everything you do here is for our members.
Absolutely. We love our realtor members.
And you're working hard to get it good for them.
I hope so. So far, the feedback's been good. We've got a day left to go, and we're just thrilled for everybody's experience here.
This year, the big topics: the future of multiple listing services, techniques for managing data, and protecting brokers and MLSs from misuse of copyrighted listing photos. And that's our show for the week of March 21st. You can get more on everything we talked about today at the Voice for Real Estate page on Realtor.org. Thank you for joining us, and be sure to join us again as we bring you the latest news on the Voice for Real Estate. Brought to you by the National Association of Realtors, your advocate for housing and property rights in Washington, across America, and in your neighborhood. This is the Voice for Real Estate.